All right, everybody. Hope this finds you doing well. I wanted to go live. I know the podcast intro was playing. This isn't a podcast. This is me, Christian Brindle, coming to you because I really feel like it's important that I get a lot of communication out to you guys as we get closer and closer to AEP. So I wanted to come on and do a live stream. If you guys have anything in particular related to AEP for anybody that's watching live on any platform, um, feel free to comment it, right? Um, and I'll be happy to kind of talk about it. I feel like in regards to AEP, there's a lot of panic right now, and there's a lot of agents kind of feeling like they're just not able to grow. And I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to be on with you for quite some time tonight. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay and everything like that. Okay. So I will do my best to address every single comment of anybody that comments on anything. I'd be remiss if I didn't just kind of briefly talk about the Charlie Kirk situation, right? This happened about 30 miles from my office. I got updates in real time, and I promise I won't spend the entire stream this evening talking about that. I'm sure you're probably getting it from all angles on all news medias everywhere, all over social media, everything like that. It's the most viral thing right now going on. But incredibly sad situation. Um, Taking all politics and political beliefs out of the equation, this was a guy who was 31 years old. This was a guy that welcomed conversation with people that he disagreed with and did it respectfully, regardless if you agreed with him or not. And this was a guy with a wife and two little kids. So, um, like I mentioned, it's just something that I just wanted to kind of just briefly touch on because it's something, admittedly, that's on my mind, as I'm sure it is on everybody else's mind. It's horrific, the situation. If you saw the video, I recommend not watching it if you haven't seen it already. It's kind of circulated online, unfortunately, and it's man, it's painful to watch and hard to watch. And it's just so sad that this is kind of where we're at. I think my message, and I'll kind of leave it at that, is I certainly hope this doesn't become the norm, right? It makes me think about kind of the state of things. We had the situation with the United Healthcare CEO last fall during AEP. And this was somebody that was in our industry. This was somebody that, you know, for all we know, he had done things to help agents. You just don't know. And so anyway, it's just sad to see and just very depressing, very much a bummer. I promise, like I said, I won't spend the entire stream talking about this, but I just want to just kind of touch on it. It makes you second guess doing any type of public speaking in front of a large crowd. I can tell you that. I had a brief moment where that went through my mind as somebody that spends a lot of time speaking on stages. It's just kind of scary, and it's unfortunate that that's kind of where we're at right now in America. But anyway, okay, let's talk about what we're here to talk about, and that is AEP. Okay, so as many of you know, there is a lot going on right now in the Medicare space. A lot of carriers coming out and announcing plan terminations and also non-commissionable plans. I'll kind of talk about a little bit of kind of what's been going on, right? We've seen a lot of regional carriers make a lot of kind of shocking news about plans terminating, like UCare, for example, in Minnesota and Wisconsin, terminating 150,000 Medicare Advantage members and completely getting out of the Medicare Advantage business. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas ceasing to pay commissions on new business for any Medicare Advantage sales, and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois not cutting all of their plans, but the vast majority of them, and leaving behind only 3, and cutting significantly more than they're keeping. And then yesterday, the largest Medicare carrier puts out an additional list. They'd put out a list earlier in the year, and they put out another list of non-commissionable plans, mostly PPOs. And then on any PPO business, or in a lot of places, that they kept the PPOs in certain markets. They're cutting commissions on the street level commission. I have been told, and I can't share anything more than this, but Humana will be putting out on Monday their addendum, which will have some additional non-commissionable plans on it. I've also been told from various different people, various different sources, that it's going to be a short list. So for what that's worth, short is subjective. And so it will kind of depend on, I guess, on definition for that. But that will be dropping Monday. There was a little bit of confusion on that. Somebody commented to me yesterday in the Facebook group, and they were like, it came out today. I have confirmation from a lot of my contacts at Humana that it did not come out yesterday. Hasn't come out yet. Comes out Monday. So there's certain markets, for sure, that are being hit really hard. Connecticut, New York, Idaho, plenty of others, for sure. And I do feel like there's a sense that agents have where they feel like it's time to throw their hands up in the air and call it a day and give up. I'm hearing some agents talk about how they want to find a new career, some of which agents that have been in this business for many years. And I can't help but think that that is, sorry to say, a dramatic overreaction. I've talked about this a lot on the 7 Figures or Bust podcast. If you're a viewer of that, we're streaming on multiple platforms right now. The Facebook group, of course, the YouTube channel, X, and so we post those episodes to all of those audiences. But I'll give you the summarized version of kind of how we got here. Right, 2022 Inflation Reduction Act passes. The current prescription drug model had been in place for 20 years, or the previous one, I should say, with the donut hole, the 4 stages of coverage, no max out of pocket, really. And so what you have is a scenario where the carriers that participate in the Medicare Advantage business literally had 20 years of data to go off of to determine, from an actuarial perspective, what benefits they can include into a Medicare Advantage plan while still remaining profitable and also being able to cover the prescription drug portion of the plan. 20 years of data. 2005 was the first AEP that Medicare Part D was written in any capacity. Okay. Fast forward to January 1st, 2025, it changes. We have the $2,000 cap. And if you think about it, the carriers have had 9 months of data compared to 20 of what they had before. And every single person that I've talked to in the industry that I have a lot of respect for has kind of said the same thing. People that are, high up in the industry, people that are doing really big time things in the industry, stating that there's disruption going on, but everything will stabilize. And I think if you look at what's already happened, there's evidence of that. If you look at the non-commissionable plans that came out last year, and last year there was a lot of panic as well from a lot of agents because a lot of these non-commissionable plans were announced in the middle of AEP, right? Like in October, in November kind of timeframes. And of course, you had suppressed plans. That was the first time I had seen really a suppressed plan in that same way, where they say, if you want to get paid on this plan, you still can, but you have to do a paper app, can't do an e-app, just making it harder to submit a piece of business. And so, and then of course, you had additional plans coming out as non-commissionable or suppressed this year. A lot of those plans are terminating for 2026. So what does that tell us if you're paying attention? It tells us that the carrier's strategy is that they don't want these plans marketed. They don't want people on these plans because it's an actuarial disaster, profit margin wise for them. Sometimes it means just that they're too rich in benefits, right? That's why you saw changes made in AEP last year. It's because carriers were getting more enrollments than they were anticipating on certain plans, and they're projecting what 2025 was going to look like in terms of claims and loss ratios. They're like, uh-oh, this isn't good. We got to find a way to slow the bleeding. But again, a lot of these plans were already confirmed for 2025, so they couldn't terminate them. So what do? They put them on the back burner and terminate them this AEP. I do not believe at all that there's like this consolidation going on with the carriers where they're trying to slowly and strategically push us as agents out. In fact, I think that you're going to see a repeat next year. I think a lot of the plans that are being announced now as non-commissionable, you'll see a lot of plan terminations with those plans next year. And plan terminations are not a new thing. They've been in our business as long as I've been here. I'm 11 years in. I started in 2024. There's always been non-commissionable plans, but the model is clear. We have a year almost of data to go off of. Make the plan non-commissionable, so that way it slows enrollments, suppress the plan, and then put it on the back burner, and down the road, eventually terminate it. Because if you terminate too many plans all at once, if you terminate too many members all at once, what does that do? Of course, we all know it hurts your star rating if you're a carrier. And if it hurts your star rating, it hurts your funding from CMS. So they're playing chess, not checkers. So many of you are looking at this from the perspective of checkers, but it's a game of chess through and through. And so it's not time to panic, in my opinion. So I wanted to kind of just talk about a little bit more about why is this happening? Well, to anyone that's paying attention, that's why it's happening. So a lot of the plans that are becoming non-commissionable that might be affecting you in your area, they're most likely down the road going to terminate. It's not that these carriers have these plans as like a grand master plan. They're like, twirling mustaches, right? We will push everyone into these plans and not pay commissions. Guys, if you look at what a carrier pays out in commissions versus what they get from CMS in funding, it's not much, right? They get so much more funding than they pay out in commissions, right? The difference in commissions Does it add up over a large period of policy? Sure, but on a policy by policy basis from a spread perspective, it doesn't make a huge difference for the carrier. And so I think this is what agents need to know about. They need to know why this is happening and what the expectation is. And the expectation is this is most likely a 3-year trajectory for the market to stabilize and plans to be what they're going to be, for carriers to kind of figure out what they can offer versus what they can't offer. And so last AEP was the first year of this. This AEP is year 2. I think next AEP we'll see a lot of the same stuff. And then after that, we'll start to stabilize. And so what does that mean for you as an agent? It means getting through it and surviving and finding ways to grow, not just surviving, is going to be in your best interest, in my opinion. And so, if you think about it, it has never been a better time to grow, to figure out how to grow. If you're looking in the Facebook groups and online communities and agent chatter, and everybody's aware of it, everybody sees it. I'm talking to people that work for carriers, carrier reps, things like that. Everybody sees the panic. Do you think that there's a lot of agents out there that are going to have so much fear that it prevents them from doing anything? Analysis paralysis, if you will? Sure. What does that mean for you? Less competition. When business is easy to write, there's way more competition, and in a way, it makes it harder to grow. If you think about it. If you're just joining the stream, I'm going to be on with you guys for some time tonight. And make sure to drop your questions in the chat on any platform you might be watching on. I will make time to go through and address any questions, talk about anything you guys want me to talk about relating to AEP. I'd also be remiss if I didn't say some of you guys are finding just difficult strategies, and I'm going to talk about this in terms of growing your business. Glenn and I have really put together a really good pathway for you in the preset appointment program. We have 7 days left of a massive sale where you can get a pre-scheduled appointment as low as $72. We can offer them in your zip code. We can offer them in your state. We can offer them in your county, whatever you want. And we can literally do a telephonic pre-scheduled appointment. We can literally do a face-to-face pre-scheduled appointment. So this is not a lead necessarily. It's an appointment where someone has agreed to meet with you in your area. This is something that we believe is a real solution for a lot of you that are struggling to find ways to grow for this coming AEP. So check this out. If you guys haven't already, I highly recommend it. We only have so many pre-scheduled appointments available in stock that we can produce for AEP. So once they're gone, they're gone. So make sure to get in and get some pre-scheduled appointments. The minimum is 20. So even if you only get the minimum to be able to take advantage of this savings, that's 20 appointments, right? And there's certain people that are running these that are closing 50, 60%. That's not everybody. It's going to vary based on the agent and everything like that. But that is happening. So if someone gets 20 appointments and they are closing 50%, they're walking away with 10 apps, not to mention spouses, not to mention any cross sales they're able to make. I mean, the ROI possibilities is just crazy. So we really feel like this is a solution. This is a way that you can get around some of this stuff and be able to retain your book of business while at the same time growing your business. So I'm going to start by going through kind of the first round of questions, and then I'm going to kind of give you guys some thoughts I have. Because if you're in one of those markets that's getting hammered, I promise you, no matter where you are, There's things you can do. I promise. And if you feel like your area is hopeless, drop it in the comments for me and I will do my best to talk about it. If it's an area that I'm just completely unfamiliar with, I might ask some follow-up questions, but um, make sure to drop it in the comments. So I'm going to go through some of the chat so far early on. I'm going to be on for quite some time. I'm planning on being at least 2 hours with you guys today to make sure that I cover all the information that you need. So if you have the time to stay on with me, buckle up for a wild ride. Okay, so Dan, welcome, gentlemen. It's just me, Dan. No Glenn, at least for now. TJ, what's up, my brother? Good to see you, my friend. Let's see. UHC is not paying PPO, MAPD, new business in Texas. Yeah, just kind of spent some time talking about that. And, you know, I understand. But in Texas in particular, they are still paying on HMO, point of service plans, which, if you think about it, the long-term plan, I really believe, from the vast majority of these carriers is to sooner, probably rather than later, terminate these plans. So they're not going to be here long-term, most likely. So the HMO POS plans is where they're putting their chips at. They're putting their chips on that table, right? And so I said this yesterday when I did a live stream. That is the messaging that I would give to clients. You know, they've cut off my ability to do this other plan for you, but my expectation is this plan might not be around long term. You still can sell a lot of plans in Texas, a lot of plans. So you just have an abundance of options. I don't even look at that market as a market that is the most affected. I think there's still a lot of opportunity for agents in Texas. Tammy, how's the baby doing? Thank you. Thank you for asking, Tammy. For those of you that don't know, my son was born at the end of June 28th to be exact. And he had a pretty lengthy NICU stay in the hospital. And we've had him home about a month, maybe 5 or 6 weeks now. I lose track, something like that. He's doing very well. He's eating much better. He's gaining weight better. And we're not completely out of the woods yet, but I'm pleased to say that we were able to return his nose feeding tube machine today, meaning that they're comfortable with us sending it back because they don't think we're going to need it anymore. So that's a win. He's been off of the feeding tube for about a month, but they told us to hang on to it just in case. And so the fact that we're able to get rid of it is basically stating that there's no possibility that he's going to go back on it. He's doing well. He's a happy, funny, chubby baby, and he's eating well. He's eating better, and he's just getting better all the time. So thank you so much for asking, Tammy. Saddened by the assassination, Utah. Yeah, me too. Me too. If you guys are just joining us, like I said, it happened about 30 miles from my office, and probably more like 15 miles or so from my house. Just very sad. Okay. I feel like we have a big opportunity to grow 100%. And that is what we're going to be talking about on this stream, because I think there is a big opportunity to grow and there's a lot of agents that aren't seeing it. Okay. So we're going to talk about that. Add ACA to the chaos. Yeah. That's its own live stream, I think. Hi, Jackie. Miss Jackie Shepard. Hope you're doing well. Thoughts on if this is prime opportunity for SUPs? Seems like I'm writing more than I ever have in the past. Great question. I think it certainly could be. I think it's going to be very area based and geographical based. In some areas, certainly. I was talking to somebody that's in Idaho, and Idaho is a market that's been very, very hit hard, right? UHC plans in the entire state are non-commissionable, so there's no UHC plans you can sell. So for those of you that are saying, I can't sell the PPO plans, their market is every plan um, on the Medicare Advantage side. So that's rough. And then Blue Cross Blue Shield of Idaho, which has been a very popular, prominent carrier in Idaho, is terming like 70,000 members, something like that, and replacing it with some other plans that in a lot of markets just don't look as good. So like that market in particular, I think it's prime for MedSup. I think it can have a ton of opportunity for MedSup, and there's some really lucrative Medicare supplement carriers in a market like that. So I think it just depends on where you are. But in a place like that, the Medicare Advantage offerings basically fall off a cliff, and it opens up the door for Medicare supplement. So in some markets, I think 100% positively. In other markets where it's extremely big and metropolitan, where there's still all kinds of lucrative, popular, strong plan offerings on the Medicare Advantage side, it might be a little tougher, but it also depends on the MedSup rates in that area and everything. There's a lot of variables, but I think in a lot of places, TJ, 100%, I think it could be. Dan, any thoughts on California? Certainly. Yeah, I mean, Dan, as you know, we have quite a few agents now in California. You're one of them, one of the ones we have the privilege of working with. So on California, I think you're seeing a lot of plans that are going non-commissionable. Like there's certain carriers that are only wanting to pay commission mostly on D-SNP business, but that's not all carriers. I think that you have in most areas in California so many different lucrative plan options, especially when you're looking at some of the regional carriers that are coming in pretty strong. Like Alignment's looking really good, Scan is looking really good in California. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity in California, certainly. I don't see any reason why there wouldn't be. I don't look at California as a market that's getting wrecked. I think California certainly has some non-commissionable plans, but I think there's a huge abundance of plan options that are still sellable, and it's going to be a good market for growth, I think. Great news on your son. Happy for your family. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's kind of nice we're not completely out of the woods yet. We're still doing the feedings for him every 3 hours. So that's always tricky, but we'll get through that. He's eating better. It's only a matter of time before he'll sleep through the night. I mean, I personally think he could sleep through the night now, but doctors say no. Another question. Also, how do you feel about high deductible G with hips as a strategy? It's interesting. It depends on the market. I'm not a big fan of selling indemnity plans with MedSup necessarily. I think you could make the argument for it if it's like an area that there is very limited to to no Medicare Advantage plan offerings. If you're in a market that has the Physicians Mutual Innovative Plan G, I think that's a way better option for that client because of two things. Number one, the Innovative Plan G is essentially a high deductible Plan G, but within 3 years, it changes to a regular G, but at the lower cost, which is crazy. Nobody does that. And then I think they also, at any point in time, can switch to a regular G with no health questions, no underwriting, everything like that. So when the Innovative Plan G exists, and it's not in every state to be fair, but if it is available in your state, as long as the rates aren't crazy on it or horrific, I think that plan is just a better version of the high deductible Plan G. It's the same plan, but the high deductible falls off after 3 years, and they can change to a regular G at any point with no health questions or underwriting. That's just a better position, I think, for the client to be in overall if it's available in your area. It's not everywhere, and I understand that. But yeah, I just think it's an inferior version of the Innovative Plan G that Physicians Mutual offers, which no other carrier offers. It's patented. They own the patent. Nobody else can offer it. So if you don't have Physicians Mutual and anybody that's watching and you want it, reach out to my office. We can get it for you. We have the top contract in the country. We're an FMO direct, so we can get it for you. Um, Again, guys, I'm going to talk about it a little bit as we go. Keep the questions coming. I see some coming in from YouTube, so I'm going to come to those in just a second here. But Lead Heroes pre-scheduled appointment, guys, we're so bullish on them this AEP. Um, you know, we had one of our newer agents sell 2 new to Medicare Advantage uh, true ups today from a Lead Heroes lead in the office. You know, um, we're so bullish. We use them internally. We're a product of the product at ESI, and there's nothing quite like having a pre-scheduled appointment. I really can't stress this enough. It's so different from a lead, right? Like a lead is one of those things that you have to chase, you have to call, everything like that. But an appointment is, I said it on this morning's podcast, it's literally like magic. You wake up in the morning, um, and you just have a full schedule, a full day full of appointments. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And our team is really good at it. And we can handle a lot of volume, although we do have a limitation on volume, but we can handle a lot of volume. And our sales going till September 17th, so 7 days from right now. So make sure you get on this pre-scheduled appointment, guys. They're not going to be around forever. And we will sell out. We do every year. Okay, so question from somebody on the YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Senior market sales FMO is going to push high deductible G and HI moving forward. Okay. That's I'm not saying it can't work. I just fail to see the logic in it when something like the innovative plan G exists. You know what I mean? And if you're not familiar with that product, let me know and I'm happy to talk about it more, but I just think it's a better value proposition for the client. But whatever works, whatever works. I mean, it is an interesting kind of value proposition that might have not been even a thought 5 years ago. So, I wouldn't be mad at you if you went that in that direction. It's just for me personally, it's probably not something that I would find super lucrative. I worked a lot of pre-scheduled appointments last AEP, closed 60% with many being initial MAs. Let's go, Lance. That's awesome, brother. Great job. So I love to hear those success stories. So thank you so much for sharing. Closing 60% is big time. So that's awesome. Yeah, guys, pre-scheduled appointments, they're real. And there's all types of testimonials if you're willing to kind of look for them. Lance, my friend Lance is one of them. So thank you for sharing, my dude. That's great. All right. Agreed on the innovative. Maybe an Andrew Saul question. It could be. I'll do my best though. I'll do my best Andrew Saul impersonation. But I've been wondering what increase history is on that product. Yeah, I think it's going to kind of depend on the market, like all med subs. But from what I've seen on data that he's shown on trainings, like we did a huge everything senior insurance AEP kickoff on Monday. That was 9 hours straight. I felt like I was going to die by the end of it. That I hosted and emceed. But he did a presentation on Physicians Mutual, but not just Physicians Mutual, a lot of really great information. And he shared some data. I can't remember all the specifics, but he shared some data that kind of suggested that the rate increases on the innovative Plan Gs have been historically a lot lower than regular Plan Gs. So, and I could see it, right? Because it basically is a high deductible Plan G in a lot of ways. So when someone has a high deductible, they're maybe not running to the doctor if they have a broken nail. They're only going for something that's serious. So that probably has a lot to do with it. And also healthy people, right? Also healthy people are attracted to a high deductible Plan G or an innovative Plan G, something like that. So it might be a healthier block of business overall. So that's kind of been my impression of it. Yes, SMS is proposing the high deductible G with HIP. They've also mentioned that those HIP claims would auto um, adjudicate. Interesting. Yeah, I can't speak to that necessarily. I mean, the only reason I think somebody would propose that on a broad scale is if they don't have Physicians Mutual. And I don't know if they do or don't. I'm not saying they don't have that contract, but a lot of big FMOs don't have that contract because they're new to the space. Their contract levels are a little different. Um, so it could be that. But I really do believe it's a simpler option too for the client. Instead of selling them both products, you sell them one product that's like a hybrid high deductible G in the innovative. So I really like that. Um, you have to talk really fast to sound like Andrew Saul. I'll do my best, Dan. I'll do my best to kind of talk really fast. I try to keep my tempo a little bit grounded, um, but we'll see what we can do. All right, another question. When acquiring a book of business, how are drop-offs factored into financing? I love this question. This is great because we bought a lot of books of businesses this year, multiple, like 3, I want to say. Are there considerations for policies that drop off within 5 years since the financing is based on current revenue? So you could build that into your agreement, I guess. But if I'm the seller, I probably wouldn't want to agree to anything that factored that in where you could kind of come back and like charge them back necessarily. Um, it's a risk in that way to where, you really do have to work a bit to try to retain those people. But I do feel like how the handoff is conducted from the old agent to you will have a lot to do with the success rate of being able to retain those people. So an example to that would be like one thing that we do historically is we first off, we do a contract with the selling agent. And in the contract, we require the selling agent to write a letter that we can send out to the clients with their letterhead, their logo, everything like that, that is letting them know from the horse's mouth that they're going to be out of the picture and we are taking over, but also endorsing us and, really kind of laying the groundwork of trust in the client's mind that we are a good quality shop and trustworthy. And that is going to mean more than anything you could ever say to them personally, that endorsement from the selling agent. Because you got to remember, right? These people did not sign up to work with you. They weren't sold on you. They were sold on the agent that sold you the book. So if they can't have that agent, the next best thing is that agent's endorsement of how great you are. So that's really big. When we've gotten smaller books, we haven't done this with every book, but we've also, we send out a letter, we send out email communication, and then usually within a couple of weeks, what we've been doing recently, like we just bought a book of about, I want to say like 25, 30 clients, smaller, much smaller purchase. We bought another one earlier this year of like 500, but we had our staff call out to those clients and let them know what was going on, made sure that they got the letter and everything like that. And so I feel like your outreach and how well you educate them on what's going on, and with the help of the selling agent, really makes a big difference. But usually we'll do in the ballpark of like two times annual commissions. And so I just don't feel like it's realistic to build anything in of, clients falling off. Some will, but again, right, our goal is always to keep on books of business we purchase 90 to 95%. In general, we want to keep 95% or more of our clients, which we do successfully every single year. But if I buy a book of business and I can retain 90 to 95% somewhere in there, I'm doing great. I expect there to be a slight drop off from clients we write ourselves internally as an agency, but I don't want it to be like crazy drop off, just a few percentage points if I can help it. So anyway, that's just a quick thought that I've had. I've never put that into our agreements, but because I don't think a lot of sellers would go for that, but I do feel like you can kind of avoid a lot of big drop off in how you conduct the handoff. So I hope this helps, Lance. All right, guys. If you're just joining, drop any questions in the comments, and I will make sure to do everything in my power to address all of them before the stream is done. I'm going to stay on with you guys for quite some time. I've been on about 40 minutes, give or take, so far. My plan is and my goal is to stay on with you guys for around 2 hours tonight because I feel like there's a lot of messaging that needs to be provided about AEP. There's been a lot of panic. There's also been a lot of false and bad information going on. So I really wanted to just kind of take some time with you guys. It's been some time since we did a Q&A kind of like this. So drop your comments and questions in the chats on whatever platform you might be listening on. And I'll do my best to make sure that I'm getting to all of them. Okay. In the meantime, while I'm waiting to see if any questions pop up, we have a massive Lead Heroes pre-scheduled appointment sale going for the next 7 days until September 17th. Make sure that you take advantage of that. Pre-scheduled appointments are better than leads. They are. Lance mentioned, on our YouTube channel that he closed 60% of his pre-scheduled appointments last AEP. And there's lots of success stories like that. You can see them at leadheroes.com. But yeah, guys, pre-scheduled appointments are the real deal. And you can make a fantastic ROI on them. It's an efficiency game, right? Think about how much work you might have to put in yourself to actually book an appointment. These are appointments that are booked for you. Not only that, we capture the scope of appointment and book it on your calendar 48 hours out. You just can't beat it. Capture a verbal recording of them doing a verbal scope. So tremendous. There's nothing quite like it. And I do feel like it is one of the best ways that you can prospect and sell new business in 2025, this AEP. And there's lots of opportunity, which I'm going to get to in a second here. Okay, average asking price is about 2x commissions. Yeah, that's usually the ballpark we will go off of when we're buying books of business. And depending on how much we like that book of business, we might do a little bit less or a little bit more. It just kind of depends. If we don't like it very much, we'll do a little bit less. We've bought books at 1x before. We bought books at 1.5x before. If it's a book we just really don't like very much. And sometimes people will do it because they just want to be done. Other times we've offered, I think the highest we ever offered for a book was like 2.5. And that we have to really like the book for that. But we usually start at the 2x number and kind of adjust from there based on how the book looks to us. And the reason why we do that is because you hear about these stories from people buying books of businesses and people getting like crazy multiples, right, of their EBITDA. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12x. But that's when they're buying the business and they're buying the owner, and the owner is staying on and running everything. They're buying the staff, everything. When you're just buying the book, all you're buying is the asset. And truthfully, that's really all it's worth, is about 2x. You pay any more than that, you're probably overpaying, to be honest. And the reason for that is just because, like I said earlier, you can prevent this through your outreach and how you handle the handoff, but the likelihood of you keeping the clients is less than writing it yourself. So it's not worth any more than 2x because of that increased risk. I wouldn't pay any more than 2x. It's just too risky. I believe in our systems. I believe in our agency. I believe in our customer experience. But that being said, I want to take good risks. So 2x is usually what I will be willing to do. Okay. Don't see SNPs and knowledge of SSBCIs offer a huge opportunity this AEP/OEP? Yeah, I would say so for sure. Think about this. What that means for those of you that aren't been following that type of situation is the disruption going on in the Medicaid market. It's going to be a lot of people that are going to be left out in the cold on the Medicaid side. They're going to have to start going through health questions to verify eligibility on using their grocery cards and their food allowances, and they're not going to understand why. Having somebody explain it to them and walk them through that is going to be a godsend for them. And a lot of their agents will be like asleep at the wheel, or they don't have agents, or they were signed up by a call center or something like that. So huge opportunity. Absolutely. I would definitely say so. Anytime there is massive disruption, it comes with massive opportunity every time. Um, I work for Select Quote, and they are the worst so far, insanely low commission and an insane metric system to take even more when you get big. Don't get crazy with greed. Yeah, thank you for that comment. Without saying too much, like those large, massively publicly traded call centers, they all kind of operate in a similar fashion. Um, I've heard nothing but negative experiences in working for a lot of those organizations. I don't think there's anything wrong with working for an agency or being an LOA, licensed only agent, where your commissions are assigned to another group. In fact, it can be a great thing, and a lot of agents, that's the best thing for them. But I think you're better off working with like a local agency or like a brick and mortar agency rather than a big call center like that. I mean, even a call center that's not a giant publicly traded call center even might be a better situation than that. I've just heard a lot of horror stories. I've never done any business or worked with Select Quote directly, but they have a long history of the way they do things and how they do things, and um, them and a couple of other call centers are probably massively responsible for the negative customer experience that we saw several years ago, which resulted in tons of more regulation coming down the pike for all of us. So, um, yeah, I hear you. I understand. We try to be extremely fair to our agents, where we can benefit from working with them, we can grow, but they can too. Um, an agent that's working in my office, they should be able to make six figures, if not the first year, at least in the second year. Because Medicare business, it takes time to grow, right? We pay on renewals. So um, a good agency is the good agency positions are out there for sure. Devoted released a lot of C-SNPs in Arizona and are D-SNP lookalikes, where their flex card values are much higher than the incumbent plan lined up with the MCO. I've seen that. I've seen that in a couple of different places. And so that's an interesting opportunity. And that's a unique type of plan that a lot of those people might have never even seen anything quite like that before, right? So I love it. I think it is a great opportunity that is slept on, that people aren't talking about very much. Um, I was talking earlier at the beginning of this live stream today about markets that are really, really getting hit really hard. And I'm sure I'm going to miss some. You're welcome to let me know in the chat if there's any that you're aware of that are getting hit really hard, but like New York for sure, Connecticut, Idaho, um, spacing a little bit, but there's quite a few. I think Nebraska is getting hit pretty hard. Um, I think even in those areas, there's always something to sell. There's a thing you can focus on. Like I was talking to, if you're in a market that there's limited plan availability for Medicare Advantage, there's probably not a lot of marketing going on in that area for Medicare Advantage, because if the carrier's not paying commission, it means the plan's suppressed. They don't want the business. Remember what I talked about earlier, that larger game. And so that opens up the door for med sup sales. I mean, maybe you could do the SMS route where you're doing high deductible plan Gs with HIP plans. If you have an innovative plan G in your market, you have so much opportunity, and there's not going to be a lot of massive companies targeting those areas for sure. From a marketing perspective, carriers aren't likely to do it. Call centers aren't likely to do it. Other agents aren't likely to do it. I'm excited about this AEP, you guys. I'm bullish. I believe that there's blood in the streets, and I think the people that see it for what it is, a resetting of the market with this new uh, layout of the on prescription drug coverage and all the plans needing to reset a little bit. It's going to be an exchange of wealth in our industry. It's a real thing. And so if you're lined up and you're ready to take advantage of this, of the opportunity of it, and you are in a growth mode and growth mentality, you will survive. You'll come out the other side and things will start to stabilize. I've been told over and over again from people that I trust and people that I respect that the projections on this is it's going to be a 3-year process for things to completely reset. Last AEP was the first year. We saw 2 million people lose their plans. This year, around the same in terms of plan terminations and disruption. Next year will probably be similar. And there's going to be a crap ton of opportunity related to all of this. So understand it for what it is. And I think if you see it for what it is, it's going to be okay. Now, for those of you that have tons of plans canceling, tons of members canceling, well, for one, if you're a one-man show and you have 500 members canceling, 1,000 members canceling, things like that, first off, I would say, hopefully you're not working completely by yourself. That's what I would hope, right? Hopefully you're not, doing everything by yourself and you don't have any help, you don't have any staff or anything like that. Because there's no solution to that. There's no solution to being a one-man show and only having 24 hours in the day. There is no solution at all other than bringing in help. And if you're trying to bring in help right now, you might be able to do it, but it might be a little tricky. Your best bet would be to hire a virtual assistant. Shout out Hire Heroes if you wanted to bring in help now. But bringing in someone in stateside that knows nothing about our space, that's tough right now. But assuming that you have staff, it's all about increasing efficiency, right? How can you spend less time on administrative work? How can you spend less time on drug comparisons? We started using Search and Save on our prescription drug checks, but if you have a Sunfire tool, it'll do the same thing for free. I just feel like sometimes the accuracy isn't always there on the drug comps, but that saves the drug list for the client. Push a button, run a new comp. You don't have to re-enter it into Medicare.gov every time. Virtual assistants run all our drug checks for us as well. So we don't waste time on drug checks. We don't waste time on doctor checks. Efficiency is the name of the game. You need to spend your time wisely on income-producing activities that bring in new business into the door. And so, if you're having a lot of people cancel, we're having a lot of people cancel on us. We're having a lot of clients have their plans terminated. I mentioned earlier, we had a book of business that we purchased earlier in this year that was about 500 members. Well, 130 of those 500 members are terminating plans next year. Ouch, right? But not ouch. We're gonna retain them. Our team is terrific. We're gonna work together, and we're gonna retain all of our canceled people, and we're still gonna grow in the process. So, I think it's one of those things, right? That if you have growth mode, if you are bullish on our industry, like you have faith that our industry is going to be around long term and things are going to be good, you're stoked about this AEP. And that's what I am. I believe we are going to have our biggest and our best AEP ever. And people that I'm talking to around the industry that run big businesses, oftentimes not people that are commenting on social media. There are certainly people on social media that have big businesses that comment, but there are some people that, you guys know who I'm talking about, right? They're not on social media much. They just kind of, keep to themselves. And
Hi, I'm calling in regarding AEP being canceled. I heard there's no more commissionable plans.
well, you've come to the right place, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, as you can see the pictures, I'm bled out by all the carriers cutting commissions to every single Medicare plan in the nation.
well, I believe we have the medicine for that. We're about 56 minutes in of offering some
Catch me up,
diagnosis
yeah,
to that and some
catch me up to
prescriptions.
speed. Catch me up to speed. I'm in the car
We've
at
been
the moment,
talking.
otherwise I'd have my pretty face.
Yeah, that's quite the picture, by the way.
Thank you. You can see all of our sponsors.
Real quick, Lance asked a great question on YouTube. Does Lead Heroes still offer MedSup telemarketed leads? Do you want to answer that one? The father of Lead
Abs-
Heroes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lead Heroes was actually built on the foundation of telemarketed Medicare supplement leads. It is, and quite honestly, this has always been one of my favorite time of year for MedSup, you guys. Everyone thinks that they need to switch when they have a MedSup, even though they don't have to, obviously. They can keep their MedSup for the rest of their lives if they want to. But because there's so much Medicare Advantage marketing happening, there's so much, the television commercials, the radio commercials, they're seeing the billboards, they're getting letters, they're getting emails, they're getting phone calls. These seniors get inundated from now until December 7th. So honestly, I love Medicare supplement leads this time of year. If you're trying to sell more MedSup, obviously with some of the non-commissionable plans in certain areas, MedSup is going to be a great option. So I highly, highly, highly recommend taking a look at targeted Medicare supplement leads right now for a minimum order of 10. If you've never tried out our Medicare supplement leads, you can purchase 10 for $40. So obviously, I'd love for you to close 2 out of 10, depending on how you're working the leads is going to be a huge variable to what the closing percentage looks like, but there's no reason why in a large quantity of these Medicare supplement leads, you can't see a CPA of $200 to $300 per client.
100%. 100%. The first leads I worked from Lead Heroes as a customer was MedSup leads. And I destroyed with them, by the way. That review video is still up on the YouTube channel. Um, I think I gave them a 9.5 out of 10, and you
Yeah, I
you were
was
upset at
pissed
me
you
if I
didn't give
remember
me a
correctly. You're
10.
like you're
Yeah,
like
I was. It's like, where's my 10?
an A
Where's my
plus
10?
plus. And that's just shit. Um, guys, if you're watching on any platform, YouTube, Facebook group, anything like that, be sure to drop a comment or a question, and we'll spend some time talking about it. And yeah, just kind of chopping it up a little bit. What we've talked about so far is,
Yeah,
we've
catch
talked a
me up.
lot about the preset appointments.
Okay.
We've talked quite a bit about non-commissionable plans, what it means. We've talked a lot about how no matter where you are, there is something you can sell. And we've talked a lot
Yes.
about how opportunity exists when there's blood in the streets, like right now.
Yeah, I
So
mean, one thing
we've talked about a lot of really good subjects.
one thing, and I don't know if you talked about this or not, and Christian and I talked privately about this today, kind of from an optimistic standpoint. If you're in an area where there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of other Medicare agents, what you guys might see is, again, this is kind of culling season, right? Survival of the fittest. You might see some weaker agents bow out because they feel like there is no opportunity, right? They're not
Yep.
seeing it from the same type of angle, the same type of mindset. So what that means is more opportunity for you. Guys, Lead Heroes has been around for just over 10 years now. And what I can tell you is I have watched lead company after lead company close their doors. And what happens is those people who were buying leads from other lead companies, they end up coming to Lead Heroes. I've had the owners of some of these failed lead companies sending clients our way. And the same thing's applicable to you as an agent, right? All of a sudden you might start getting clients that you would have never gotten because they're trying to get help and they can't get help because their agent quit, retired, got out, sold their book, whatever it is. So it might get a little tough depending on your market and what you're doing. One thing that I would love to talk about is the ability to sell over the phone and expand the market that you're in. I don't know if that's been discussed or not, but that's a huge opportunity, I think, if you're in a marketplace that's suffering.
Yeah, yeah, great point, and it's not something that we've had a chance to get to yet. So I'd love to kind of kick that can around a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Let's talk about it. Let's
you
talk
know,
about it, Bane.
let's taco about it.
Let's talk about it.
If you guys have never added a non-resident state, okay, let's say you're in a state
Yes.
and that state is, let's just say, for whatever reason, that state is unsellable, right? The med sups are $1,000 a month. For
Yep.
some reason,
Right.
um,
Right.
there's no Medicare Advantage, right? Like, if there's regulations that say, like, if you do sell anyone a med sup policy, you'll go to prison. Like, whatever craziness you want to think about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, you have a neighboring state that might be a little bit more attractive, right?
That's
Um,
right.
like there's several for us, right? New Mexico, Arizona, in Utah, of course. New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Idaho. We have a lot of clients in all those states. And so if you've never added a non-resident license, it's so easy. In most states, it's just a small fee of maybe, $100, $200, something like that. A lot of times it gets approved rather quickly, you get appointed with the carriers, and then you just learn a little bit about that market. And maybe it makes sense to do some new sales over the phone, right? Um,
Absolutely.
there's always something you can do. One thing that Glenn and I was talking about this morning was, like, there's probably only like 4 or 5 states that are getting hit really hard. Like hurricane hit.
I want I want a weatherboard. I need you in front of a map, like a weatherman pointing to the states. And you're like, we got some bad weather forming up in the Northeast. Watch out, Connecticut and New York.
We've got a cloud of non-commissionable plans up west.
Looks like it might be there for 12 months. We're still trying to figure out.
You might want to take a different route home.
Yeah, let's get into the specifics on this. Let's say you're in a state like, one that got hit relatively hard is Idaho, right?
Mm-hmm,
So let's
mm-hmm.
say you're in Idaho and you're not licensed in any other states. If it was me, and I'm a relatively newer agent, I've only been maybe selling for a few years, and I'm only licensed in Idaho, and maybe my book's not too big, and I'm trying to figure out what's the move. Like, how do I stay alive? How do I make it to next AEP where the pendulum might have already swung back? This could be as short as 12 months, you guys. Obviously, no one has a crystal ball. No one knows. Maybe this takes 24 months, but let's say, from an optimistic standpoint, that we see a big swing back in 12 months. How do you get there? Well, if I'm in Idaho, I'd be looking at all of the surrounding states and seeing, which ones I can pick up rather quickly, and which ones have some great options for Medicare plans. So I'm looking at, Utah, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Nevada, Wyoming, all of states that I absolutely love, by the way, because I think they're not super competitive states compared to some other states back east. And I'm seeing what licenses I can pick up in 2 or 3 weeks. I would be surprised, honestly. I mean, we still have almost 3 weeks until AEP starts. I would be surprised if you couldn't pick up another couple states, you guys. So
Mm-hmm.
That would be an easy way to jump into a different market, be able to grow your book, not to mention now when you get to the other side of this thing, you're multi-state. You're a regional Medicare broker. Your opportunities are even bigger. You can get referrals across state lines. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of being in multiple states. The same way you'd want to be with multiple insurance carriers, right? If you're a broker. So I think that's a layup, in my opinion, as far as anyone in panic mode that's in an area where they're not seeing a lot of opportunity.
And in a lot of states too, maybe you're in a rural area that's getting
Sure.
ransacked, and like 2 or 3 hours away from you, there's an
Great
area
point.
that's more lucrative. Like, you might even have opportunity in your own state, in a different place where you're not gonna do a face-to-face appointment, but you can do telephonic, right? Without even having
Yes,
to get another license, right? Let's say you're listening to this, you're like, "I don't wanna do that."
totally.
Um, there's gonna be very few places where it's ransacked the whole state. I
Totally.
don't, you know what I mean? I don't know if there's any necessarily states where it's like the whole state, the state's gone bad, like the milk went bad. Um, XYZ state is bad.
Yeah, it might
Um,
be like one carrier that's statewide, but it's not like again, I think it's a very niche category of people who are experiencing that type of blackout. The beautiful part about the preset appointments from Lead Heroes is you can also do those telephonically as well. Christian himself has worked these telephonically. We have tons of agents who sell these remotely, not just face to face. I think a lot of agents think face to face when they hear the word appointment, but it's 2025, you guys. A lot of people are doing things remotely over the phone, and having a telephonic appointment in place works with a lot of seniors. They're wanting help. They know it's AEP. We get it set up for a specific time on their schedule. Also makes it so much easier for you guys to run more appointments in a day. I've done the face to face game. I've driven all over. It was really, really, really hard for me to do more than maybe 12 appointments in a day, and that's me working like 12 hours a day. Because I'm having
mhm.
to drive all over. I have an appointment. I'm in there. It's a presentation, and then by the time I get to the next one, so if you're selling over the phone from home, most likely you can make more presentations in a day than a face to face agent. So
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of telesales. I've always been a fan of selling over the phone. I think it's more efficient. If you guys have never tried it, this might be a great time to see if you can expand your area, even if it just means selling in your state, like Christian said, and just selling in a different part of your state.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the windshield time is no joke in terms of what it does to eat up time. Like, my our office is like 19 miles or something like that away from my house. Guys, I mean, unprecedented reason, but like a lot of parts on on the highways and the freeways were shut down today because of the whole Charlie Kirk situation. Like I said, it happened
So
30 miles
crazy.
from my house, from my office, something
So
like that.
crazy.
And I talked about it a little bit at the beginning
Yeah.
of the show, but um, you know, if I had a whole day full of appointments, I would not be able to get to them.
Yeah. Great point.
If I was going to all the houses and it was all windshield time, you just don't know. It might not even be something as dramatic as that. It could be
Could be a flat tire.
flat tire, overturned
Yeah.
car or something. Big car accident.
Absolutely. Car accident.
Um,
Oh my gosh. Just happened to me the other morning. I couldn't get home from the gym. I was stuck in bumper to bumper traffic for like 40 minutes because of a car accident just getting home from the gym. I'm like, this is crazy.
yep,
You know, Tons
yep.
of variables you can't
Talk.
control.
I've talked a little bit about the pre-scheduled appointments, right? But for anybody that might have not heard me talk about them, but also like, wanting to hear your perspective because you're the architect of these, right? Um,
Yeah.
we have 7 days of pre-scheduled appointment sale left for AEP. where they get a massive discount. They can get a pre-scheduled appointment as low as $72 potentially. They're available in certain areas. They're available over the phone. They're available face to face. I think these are super efficient. Lance was commenting on YouTube earlier that he last AEP he was closing 60% of his preset appointments. Just crushing. Um,
Incredible.
so
Yeah,
they're
that's a great
efficient.
number. Yeah.
Um, talk about these a little bit for the people.
Yeah, the preset appointment program really was born out of necessity for a few different reasons. The main thing that you're dealing with as an agent, if you're trying to run let's just say you're buying a leads. Let's say you got direct mail leads as an agent, okay? And you got 20 direct mail leads and you're trying to get in front of these prospects. As an agent, you have to call all of these leads. You
Mm-hmm.
have to try to set an appointment on your own calendar. You have to make sure you're doing it 48 hours or further out. You have to try to get a scope of appointment. You're also, again, there's a one-to-one consent piece of this as well. If
Yep.
you didn't capture that, that's got to be a part of this too. So what we were trying to do is, how do we set something up where it can be plug and play for an agent or an agency owner anywhere in the United States, whether they're selling face to face or they're selling over the phone, and we can kind of clear all these hurdles because again, if you're trying to do all of that yourself as an agent, the time suck is enormous. You know, tens of hours, multiple tens of hours, and you have such limited time during AEP. Guys, this is a gold rush. You've
Mm-hmm.
got 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks to really maximize every minute that you're going to be investing of your time into AEP. And if you end up spending 80 to 120 hours of AEP doing your own calendar management, right? Doing your own admin, think how much value for you. We rolled this program really first fixed cost verbal magic showing up on your calendar in your CRM, and then you just wake up as an agent or again as an agency owner and you're making sure more agents are working those appointments, and then it just becomes a really simple numbers game. And for me as a business owner, that's where it gets fun. I love when it becomes just a simple math equation of I know that me as an agent or as an agency owner, I know my agents, if they work 10 hours in a day and they run 8 preset appointments, that they should be able to present to 6 of them and hopefully close at least half. So they're going, for sake of numbers here, we'll say just an average agent closing 3 out of 8. Again, some agents are going to be like Lance. They're going to be doing really well. They're seasoned. They know what they're doing. They're closing 50, 60% of their own preset appointments. Some might be closing a little bit less. But once you build that equation, it's really easy to put money into the machine and know what your ROI is going to be on the back end. The CPA, we've thrown some numbers around, but with the preset appointment program, your CPA at worst, even if you're a new agent, even if you're not exactly sure what you're doing, you should be able to generate a client for between say 300 to 350 bucks. And if you're seasoned and you're doing really, really well, you're going to generate a client for a lot less than that. And what is a Medicare Advantage client worth? What's the lifetime client value of a Medicare Advantage client? Well, there's lots of numbers that people like to fight over with this one, but even the most conservative number is around $1,000 at least, if not 1,500. So what does that mean? Well, that means that you're putting money into the marketing machine of preset appointments from Lead Heroes. And for every dollar you're putting into that machine, we're giving you $5 back in lifetime client value. And that's for a conservative estimate of a relatively newer agent who might not even know exactly what they're doing. So, that would be my question to anybody listening to this or watching this, whether it's live now or maybe on the replay later, is like, how would you feel about handing me $1 and I give you 5 back? I mean, does that sound interesting to you? Is that something that you think would make your AEP better or stronger than any other marketing plans or strategies that you have?
Oh, sorry, I was muted.
Oh, I was like, did I lose you? Am I
No, no,
did I just talk to the void there?
no, no. You were coming through. Um,
Good,
no,
good.
I think it's such a great point, right? I think you know you can buy a lead for all kinds of costs, but buying a conversation,
Yeah,
is such a more powerful thing, and that's what I think you're
yeah,
doing when you're doing a preset appointment. Is you're buying a conversation, a scheduled conversation where someone agreed to talk to you, and
100%.
like a lead is you got to think about the intent, right? The intent of a lead is I want information, but that could mean a lot of things. It's very subjective,
Yes,
but
yes.
I'm agreeing to a meeting. I'm
With
agreeing to an
you,
appointment with you. One-to-one consent,
with
guys.
you. Yes, yes,
They've agreed to meet with you by name.
yes.
So, you, little Billy agent, they've, they've agreed to meet with you by name. That's
Correct.
powerful.
Very powerful. Very powerful. Yeah, I mean, even let's look at, you know, an option that a lot of agents or brokers get lured into that they think is super sexy sounding, live transfers, right?
Mhm.
A live transfer is probably coming off, and we'll generate live transfers at Lead Heroes. If someone really wants to look at those, feel free to read. Think it's going to be the best lot of the live transfer companies, that call is coming off of a very generic lead,
Yes.
something that is going to be, you know, some of the most popular ones out there that I'll hear from agents. Hey, I'm calling about the food card. You know, can you give me the food card? And half the time they think it's just a gift card that they're getting in the mail. They don't know who you are. They didn't agree to talk to you. They were just calling in hoping they could get something for free, you know,
No
versus
doubt.
the other end of this of somebody who knows who you are. They want to talk to you. They want to know what their options are right now during AEP. It's a night and day difference. And honestly, the cost isn't that big of a difference. And you're talking about a much, much higher quality, much higher intent. So, from that point of view, it really is a no-brainer in my opinion. And you could do that with almost any other lead type or marketing type, direct mail. The intent a lot of times isn't nearly what it is compared to a preset appointment. And at the end of the day, the most valuable thing is your time. You have such little time as an agent. So what are you going to spend it on? You're going to spend it on a low intent lead? Like that doesn't make sense.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's it's important. It's important. There's a question. Lead Heroes offers live transfers? Question mark.
Yes, yes, we do. So, we they're not fixed cost live transfers. It falls under our custom calling program. So you'd need to probably get more information about the campaign, how you want it structured, how you want it set up. But we do have live transfers. We've done live transfers for many years. So some of our core, just to do like a quick overview for some of you who might be looking for other things, we do have other things like we talked about the med sup leads. So we have fixed cost callback leads for Medicare supplement, final expense, and turning 65. So these are fixed cost leads. They're looking for more information. We spoke to them on the phone, and then we're passing those along to you, and they're expecting to be getting a call back in a day or two. Then we have our fixed cost preset appointment program, Medicare and final expense. So two different types of fixed cost preset appointments that you can get. And then beyond that, for any other type of phone related work that you guys need help with, or if you want to do something really custom, for example, we've done a lot of dental. We also, I always forget to mention, we have fixed cost dental vision hearing leads as well, which
Yep.
honestly have been selling like crazy. They're
Mhm.
$10 per lead, you guys. $10 per lead. You want to talk about backdooring into a Medicare sale? Oh my Lord, what an opportunity that is. A $10 dental vision hearing lead. So that's a really, really great option. But we've had different campaigns over the years. Like we have this one campaign we ran for a really long time that was like a hybrid dental Medicare campaign, and it was something that they really brought to us and said, "Hey, this isn't something you're doing right now, but we really want you to build out for us." And so we said, "Sure, that falls under our custom calling. We're going to bill you hourly, and then we've got all the tools, we've got the people, we have the dialer, we have the opt-in records." So that's always an option for sure. So feel free to shoot us an email. More information about any of this. We have an incredible team at Lead Heroes. Just shoot an email, leads, Leads, leads at leadheroes.com, and we'd love to talk to you guys, get more information on any of our programs.
Yes, leads at leadheroes.com. Let's see, there's a comment. I saw an interview with an agent who built her business on dental vision hearing leads. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, it's a slept on lead source and lead type that
Totally.
just doesn't get
Totally.
talked about enough, in my opinion. Um, yeah, guys, I think
I mean,
you know,
circle back to the non-commissionable plans conversation. Let's say you're
yes.
in an area where maybe you're getting hurt a little bit. What a great opportunity that would be. Maybe you aggressively pursue dental vision hearing. And then now you've got this book of business, rules don't apply anymore. They're your clients. You don't have to worry about TCPA rules or getting permission to contact. They're your clients. You can reach out and call them anytime you want. You could build a small book of business around dental vision hearing, get paid doing it, and then again, come after those other products like Medicare or life insurance down the road. Some agents do it, but it's pretty rare when you look at the scale of it. You're talking about probably like less than 3% of agents, I would guess. Christian, what would you guess? How many agents are actively offering dental vision hearing on a regular basis?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's got to be it's hard to know the exact number, but I would have to guess less
Spitball,
than 5%.
speculate. Yeah,
Probably less
speculate.
than
Yeah, it's got
5%.
to be less than 5%. So you're doing something that most agents aren't doing. So that sets you apart. So people are like, oh, I can get dental vision hearing. I can get one policy that covers dental, vision, and hearing. Oh, and I can use it right away. It's got day one benefits depending on the carrier. I mean, it's a really, really powerful option, you guys. Another opportunity. Honestly, as we're talking, I feel like we could come up with a list, and maybe we do this on a separate show, not necessarily right now, but I feel like we could come up with just a huge list of opportunities that exist right now. If you have a life health license and you're in the senior insurance space, I think the opportunities are endless despite any chaos that's going on right now.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I wanted to make also mention, if you guys weren't aware, um, if you want to know more and gonna get some more information on the pre-scheduled appointment program, you can certainly just if it sounds like something you want to try, you know you can just make an order. But we are doing a webinar next Monday, September 15th, at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's going to be free to everybody. make sure that you register for that and come out and attend it if it's something that you do want to learn more about, if you're on the fence, right?
Great point. Yes. Great way to get
Uh,
more information.
yeah, yeah. Um, we're almost at the hour and a half mark. The questions have kind of slowed down. I feel like we've covered all the ones that I have seen. I don't know if there's any additional ones that you guys want to ask, but I think that, guys, my message on this stream today would be, make sure that you are capitalizing on the opportunity of everything going on. Don't buy into the fear, right? Like 97% of people typically are not going the right direction in life in a lot of things, right? There's all these statistics, right? Like 2 to 3% of um of the population control like 97% of all the wealth, right, and all the money. That's because they know something that the masses don't. Um, so anytime the masses are freaking out about something, that tells me something, that I don't want to go down that road where everybody else is going. Right? I want to stand out. I want to stand apart from what everybody else is doing. And so, you know, if I can give you guys any type of, like, I guess, parting message, I feel like we've had a lot of great conversation on this stream the past hour and a half or so. Um, is that you need to be aggressively trying to grow this AEP, and there's a million reasons as to why, and I think I hope we did a good job of covering them for you on this stream today.
There's a quote here. This will kind of be my final thoughts on the stream for now, you guys. There's a quote that I see a lot of, and I think when you're newer and you're kind of first getting started, it might be harder to really absorb this, but the more successful, the bigger your book of business, the bigger your company gets, your business gets, the more successful you become, this quote becomes more powerful, in my opinion. And it's really more of an idea. I don't necessarily have a specific quote for you, but it's the idea that you would never accept advice or take feedback from someone that you would never want to switch spots in life, right?
Mm, yeah.
Why are you looking at a Facebook comment from potentially an agent that's never written a single policy? And you might be an established Medicare agent, and you've decided you're going to look at somebody's comment and no idea who they are, no idea if they've ever even written a policy, but you're like, oh man, I'm going to take this and let this affect my decision making, let this affect my mood for the day. That's the type of thing that we're seeing happen right now. We're seeing just nonsense. People are absorbing nonsense and they're letting it affect their decision making. You need to understand that as long as you go in with the right mindset here, this could easily be your best AEP ever. There's really no doubt. And don't get advice from someone you would never be willing to switch spots with, somebody that you don't think has achieved a certain level of success that you would want, right? Like, you want someone who knows what they're doing if you're going to start really absorbing information from them. And the further I get in my career, that's something I've really honed in on.
Yeah. Great point. Great point. And I try to operate under the same mentality, right? I try
Yeah.
to not pay as much attention to the opinions of people that I don't want to be more like, right? um, I know
Right.
it might
Right.
sound bad, but, like, you know, you're not me for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, if not to anyone in particular, but just like, if there is somebody that's giving advice like that, and nobody ever got anywhere positive by freaking out that the sky was falling and being like, time to quit. Can
Yep.
you imagine, like, can you imagine watching Remember the Titans, and then, they're down in the final game and the coach is like, time to give up. Time to give up.
Yeah, it's fourth quarter, you guys. You see the Bills game this past Sunday? They were down
Yeah.
15. They were down 15 points with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. No team in NFL history has ever overcome that before. Do you know how easy it would have been for that team to have just phoned it in at that point and not
Totally.
really put any effort in? Well, so easy. It would be so easy to look at the scoreboard and be like, "Oh, you know what? I'm done. There's no way. No one's ever done this before. I can't score more than 2 times in the course of 3 minutes, 56 seconds." But ultimately, they overcame that, and here they are. They're looking like one of the best teams in football right now, and it's just week one. And there's no reason why we can't, as agents, look at this with that same mentality of, it's fourth quarter, not figuratively, but literally for us. We're coming into the fourth quarter here of the year. And, the scoreboard might look a little lopsided right now, but there's no reason why we can't overcome this. There's so much opportunity, you guys, so much opportunity. You just really have to have the right mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Well said. If you guys are avid watchers and viewers, listeners, etc., everything else in between of the podcast, we'll be back tomorrow morning with a new episode. I want to say episode
Yes.
153, if my memory
Yes.
serves me correctly. Um,
Correct.
this is a bonus stream of sorts, so I hope it was value packed. Talked about a lot of specific things, and man, guys, get those Lead Heroes preset appointment orders in while you can. That is my
Yes.
final message for you on this stream tonight.
Absolutely. And yeah, if you're wanting more information, don't hesitate to reach out, leadheroes.com, shoot us an email, leads@leadheroes.com. Jump on the webinar on Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern. The link will be all over the place on Lead Heroes. You can find it here in the group, Seven Figure Medicare Agent. So yeah, super excited about this AEP, you guys.
All right, guys, don't ever say we didn't ever do anything for you. um, we'll see you guys next time, and I'll see you in the morning on the podcast. Don't miss it.
That's right.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.